"You're too weak to even try, sweetheart." The words sliced through the gym like a blade. Marcus Chen, a 6'2" black belt instructor, sneered as he circled Sarah Mitchell. Quiet, worn out, clinging to her daughter's hand. Her faded workout clothes drew snickers. Her presence drew contempt. He raised his voice so the entire gym could hear. "Maybe you should stick to making sandwiches. This isn't a playground for desperate housewives." Laughter erupted. 30 spectators watched, entertained. Sarah stood still, eyes locked on the floor, but beneath that silence, something stirred. And what happened next? No one in that gym would ever forget. Sarah's face remains an unreadable mask of calm, but those watching closely might notice the slight tightening of her jaw, the almost imperceptible shift in her stance. Emma tugs urgently at her mother's hand, her young voice barely audible as she whispers, "Mom, let's go." The plea hangs in the air between them, a child's desperate attempt to escape the humiliation unfolding before dozens of strangers. Sarah slowly kneels to Emma's level, bringing herself eye to eye with her daughter, and speaks in tones too quiet for the crowd to hear. The camera catches details others miss, the weathered knuckles that speak of countless hours of training, the faded scar cutting across her left temple like a memory etched in flesh. She rises with deliberate grace, removing her oversized hoodie to reveal a surprisingly athletic frame beneath. "I'll take one round," she says, her voice soft but carrying an edge that makes several spectators lean forward. Marcus's grin spreads wickedly across his face, predatory and confident. "This is going to be fun. What would you do if someone publicly humiliated you in front of everyone? Would you walk away or stand your ground? Drop your thoughts below and stick around, because what happens next will blow your mind." To the other parents at Drake's Elite Combat Academy, Sarah Mitchell is just that nice, quiet mom who sits in the corner during classes, never joining their conversations about vacation homes and private schools. They see a 28-year-old single mother who counts out exact change for the vending machine, whose aging Honda Civic stands out in the parking lot full of luxury SUVs. What they don't see are the 5 a.m. training sessions at a no-frills gym across town, or the championship belt wrapped in cloth and hidden in her closet. Sarah works freelance, takes extra projects to afford Emma's classes, and never mentions her past to anyone. Emma struggles with confidence at school, coming home with stories of being picked on. Sarah enrolled her at Drake's because she believes martial arts can give her daughter the strength it once gave her. But Marcus Chen has other priorities. He flirts with wealthy mothers while barely acknowledging Sarah's existence. During a recent parent-teacher conference, he suggested that Emma might be too soft for martial arts, adding with a dismissive shrug that she's probably just like her mother. 3 weeks before this confrontation, Sarah had formally complained to gym management about Marcus's training methods, documenting Emma's injuries and citing excessive force with children. Management had warned Marcus, threatening his lucrative position if more complaints surfaced. Yesterday, Sarah had requested a partial refund, citing an unsafe training environment. The complaint now threatens not just Marcus's reputation, but his income. He sees Sarah in her usual corner during the parents' demonstration day, and a plan forms in his mind. If he can publicly humiliate her, prove she's too weak to judge proper training methods, her complaints will be dismissed as the whining of an overprotective mother who doesn't understand real martial arts. Marcus announces the parents' demonstration day with theatrical flair, explaining how he wants to show the children what real fighting looks like. The wealthy parents decline his invitation politely, and he doesn't push them. They're his meal tickets after all. His eyes scan the room and land on Sarah, sitting quietly as always, and his smile turns predatory. "How about you, Sarah?" he calls out, his voice carrying across the gym floor. "Why don't you show the kids what you've got?" Sarah barely glances up from the book she's reading. "I'd rather not," she responds simply, her tone neutral. Marcus walks closer, his footsteps heavy on the mat. "Come on, don't be shy. Unless you're scared?" The word hangs in the air like a challenge, and suddenly every parent and child in the gym is watching. The other parents lean forward, sensing drama unfolding. Some pull out their phones, ready to capture whatever happens next. Marcus's voice gets louder, more theatrical, playing to his audience. "I promise I'll go easy on you. Wouldn't want to hurt a civilian." He emphasizes the last word, making it clear he sees her as beneath him, untrained, unworthy. In his mind, the plan crystallizes perfectly. If he can prove she can't handle even basic contact, no one will take her complaints seriously. The other parents will see her as just another hysterical mother who doesn't understand that martial arts training requires discipline and occasional discomfort. Emma's small voice cuts through the building tension. "Mom, you don't have to." Her words are meant to give her mother an out, but Marcus pounces on them immediately. "See, even your daughter knows you can't handle it." He's circling now, playing up the moment for maximum effect. Jennifer Walsh, one of the wealthiest parents whose daughter takes private lessons with Marcus, smirks from her seat. "Maybe she should stick to watching from the sidelines," she offers, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Marcus grins wider. "Exactly. Some people are born to be spectators, not participants. There's no shame in knowing your limitations." Marcus calls over an assistant instructor to demonstrate basic self-defense moves. He throws the younger man with unnecessary force, his holds lasting a beat too long, his strikes landing with sharp cracks that echo through the gym. The display is meant to intimidate, and it works on most of the crowd. He returns to Sarah, who hasn't moved from her seat. "Last chance," he says, his voice now carrying a harder edge. "Or should I assume you're too intimidated to even try? Maybe that's why you think my training is too rough. You just don't understand what real martial arts looks like." Sarah's gaze shifts to Emma, and she sees what Marcus has created. Her daughter is now being teased by the other children. "Your mom's scared," one boy shouts. "She's chicken," adds another. Emma's face burns with embarrassment, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. Something shifts in Sarah's expression, so subtle that most miss it entirely. She stands up slowly, methodically, like a fighter preparing for war. Her movements are unhurried as she removes her small hoop earrings, placing them carefully in her purse. She hands the bag to a surprised parent sitting nearby who takes it automatically, sensing something significant is about to happen. "1 round," she says quietly, her voice carrying despite its softness. Then she adds something that makes Marcus's confident expression waver slightly. "But I choose the rules." Marcus agrees to light contact rules, thinking it's the safest option that will still allow him to prove his point. Sarah steps onto the mat, and something remarkable happens. Her entire demeanor transforms in an instant. She assumes an orthodox fighting stance, and those with trained eyes immediately notice the perfection of it. Her shoulders drop, relaxed, but ready, her weight distributed with mathematical precision between her feet. Marcus throws a lazy jab, expecting her to flinch or stumble backward. Instead, Sarah slips it with a movement so smooth it looks choreographed. Her head moves just enough to let the punch whistle past, her body following in perfect synchronization. The crowd's murmur grows louder as Marcus's next combination meets the same fate. Sarah's footwork is a thing of beauty. Small, efficient steps that keep her always just out of range, always at the perfect angle. When Marcus throws a cross, she parries it with textbook precision. When he attempts a leg kick, she checks it, like she's been doing it her entire life. The confident smirk on Marcus's face begins to fade, replaced by confusion and the first stirrings of concern. He increases his intensity, throwing combinations with more speed and power, but Sarah flows around them like water around stones. Then she throws her first strike, a lightning-fast jab that stops exactly 1 inch from Marcus's nose. The speed is breathtaking, the control absolute. Marcus actually steps back, his eyes wide with shock. Marcus's frustration mounts as he realizes he's not dealing with an untrained soccer mom. His next attack is more aggressive. He shoots for a takedown, expecting to use his superior size and strength to put her on the ground. Sarah sprawls with perfect technique, her hips shooting back, her weight dropping onto his shoulders, denying him any leverage. As he struggles to complete the takedown, she spins behind him, with a movement so fluid it draws gasps from the crowd. Her knee comes up in a strike that stops just short of his ribs, close enough that he feels the wind from it. The crowd has fallen completely silent now, everyone leaning forward, trying to process what they're seeing. Marcus scrambles back to his feet, his face flushed with embarrassment and exertion. Sarah works as a freelance graphic designer from her modest apartment. Single mother to Emma after her ex-husband left 3 years ago. She trains before dawn, keeps old fight photos hidden away, watches MMA on mute after Emma sleeps. The other parents see worn clothes and an old car. They don't see the woman who retired undefeated, who gave up fame for motherhood, who still moves like thunder in the quiet hours before sunrise. Here's the twist that no one sees coming. Beth, Emma's junior instructor who's been watching from the sidelines, suddenly steps forward. "Marcus, stop," she calls out, her voice cutting through the tension. "I know who she is." The crowd turns to look at her, confused by the interruption. Beth continues, her eyes fixed on Sarah with a mixture of respect and something else. Recognition born from shared experience. That's Sarah Mitchell. The Sarah Mitchell. I trained at her camp 5 years ago when I was trying to go pro. She's the reason I got into teaching. She showed me that real strength comes from building others up, not tearing them down. Marcus pauses, uncertainty flickering across his face for the first time, but his ego won't let him back down now. I don't care who she used to be, he snarls, turning back to Sarah. She's nothing now. Some of the more experienced martial artists in the crowd begin to notice something familiar about Sarah's style. Her defensive slips are identical to footage playing on the Gem's television of classic women's MMA fights. Jake, a longtime MMA fan and parent of one of Emma's classmates, squints at Sarah as she circles Marcus. That footwork, he whispers to the person next to him. I've seen it before. That's not recreational training. An older gentleman who's been involved in martial arts for decades recognizes her guard position from classic women's MMA matches he watched years ago. The pieces of a puzzle are starting to come together, but the picture they're forming seems impossible. Desperation drives Marcus to abandon technique in favor of raw power. He throws a wild haymaker, the kind of punch that would knock out an untrained person if it connected. Sarah's response is poetry in motion. She slips inside the arc of the punch, her body rotating with perfect timing. Her counter combination is devastating in its precision. A left hook to the body that folds Marcus forward, followed by a right uppercut that stops just short of his chin, and finishing with a push kick that sends him stumbling backward. He drops to one knee, gasping for breath, his eyes wide with shock and pain. The body shot was pulled, but it still carried enough force to drive the air from his lungs. Emma's eyes are wide with a mixture of pride and recognition. She's seen these moves before, in the early morning hours when she snuck out of bed to watch her mother train. The ultimate display of dominance comes not from a knockout blow, but from mercy. Sarah extends her hand to help Marcus up, her expression calm and composed. It's the gesture of a superior fighter showing respect to a defeated opponent, and everyone in the gym recognizes it as such. Marcus stares at the offered hand, his pride warring with the reality of what just happened. Jake is already typing into his phone, his fingers flying over the screen as he searches for clues to Sarah's identity. He tries various combinations of search terms, something nagging at his memory about her fighting style, about the way she moved with such fluid grace. Jake's phone screen illuminates with search results, and his sharp intake of breath cuts through the gym's chaos. Sarah, the Silent Storm Mitchell, undefeated women's MMA champion, 2018 through 2022. He holds up his phone, showing a promotional photo that matches the woman standing on the mat exactly. The crowd erupts in a mix of shock, awe, and disbelief. Parents crane their necks to see the phone screen to confirm what seems impossible. Marcus, still on one knee, stares up at Sarah in absolute horror as the reality of what just happened crashes over him. He didn't just challenge some random parent. He publicly humiliated and then fought a professional MMA champion, undefeated in her career, known for her technical brilliance and devastating ground game. The transformation in the gym's atmosphere is immediate and complete. Jennifer Walsh, who moments ago was mocking Sarah for being a spectator, approaches with nervous energy, her earlier confidence evaporated. You're the Silent Storm?" she asks, her voice carrying a mix of awe and embarrassment. Sarah's response is simple and characteristic of her humility. "I'm just Emma's mom." Marcus finally accepts Sarah's hand and climbs to his feet, but instead of accepting defeat gracefully, he tries to salvage his reputation. "This is entrapment," he protests loudly, addressing the crowd. "She should have disclosed who she was. This was a setup to make me look bad." His voice rises with each word, desperation evident. "I demand a rematch with proper rules, proper preparation. This proves nothing." The crowd's sympathy doesn't materialize. Instead, his protests only dig him deeper. "You challenged her," someone calls out. "You mocked her for being weak," another parent adds. Marcus's face reddens as he realizes his attempts to spin the situation are failing. "She's a professional fighter," he shouts. "She had an unfair advantage." Sarah's calm voice cuts through his ranting. "The only advantage I had was that you underestimated me. Just like you underestimate every parent who doesn't fit your idea of strength. Just like you underestimate the children you're supposed to be teaching." Her words land like physical blows, each one stripping away another layer of his self-justification. Beth steps forward again, adding another nail to Marcus's professional coffin. I've watched you for months, Marcus. Bullying parents, using excessive force with kids, playing favorites with whoever pays the most. Sarah being a champion doesn't change the fact that you're a terrible instructor and an even worse person. Other staff members nod in agreement, finally free to voice opinions they've kept hidden. Marcus looks around wildly, searching for allies, but finds only disappointed faces and angry parents. His last desperate gambit emerges. Fine, but if she's so great, why is she hiding? Why pretend to be just another mom? What's she really doing here? Sarah's answer is simple. I'm here for my daughter, same as everyone else. She looks around the room, making eye contact with other parents. I didn't announce who I was, because it doesn't matter. What matters is how we treat each other. She turns back to Marcus. You never asked my name. You never asked about any of us. You just saw what you wanted to see. Marcus attempts one final stand, turning to the gym owner who has just arrived. This is a conspiracy. She complained about me, then set me up to look bad. She's trying to steal my students, start her own program. But the gym owner, having watched the video someone has already sent him, shakes his head. The only thing I see is my head instructor bullying a parent and then getting schooled in basic respect. We need to talk now. The finality in his voice makes it clear Marcus's career at this gym is over. As he's led away, still protesting and making excuses, the crowd turns back to Sarah with newfound respect and curiosity. Have you ever been underestimated because of how you look? Share your story in the comments. The ripple effect of this moment spreads through the assembled crowd like waves on water. Parents who had never bothered to learn Sarah's name now approach her with genuine respect and interest. They introduce themselves properly, apologizing for their previous behavior. Jennifer Walsh makes a particularly sincere apology. I'm sorry, she says simply. I was wrong. She asks if Sarah might consider teaching her daughter privately. The request is genuine, born from witnessing true skill and wanting her child to learn from someone who clearly knows what they're doing. Emma steps forward from the crowd of children, her earlier shyness completely gone. She throws her arms around her mother's waist. That was amazing, Mom. Sarah kneels down and hugs her daughter tightly. You know what's amazing, she asks. You standing tall when those kids were being mean. That took real courage. Emma beams with pride, understanding that her mother sees her strength too. Sarah addresses the room one final time before leaving, but keeps it simple. Thanks for the match, she says to the space where Marcus stood. Then to the parents, your kids are lucky to have you here supporting them. That's what really matters. She takes Emma's hand and heads for the door, stopping only when Beth calls out, Sarah? If you ever want to teach a class, just let me know. Sarah smiles and nods, then continues walking. Where are you watching from? Let us know what lesson hit you the hardest. Sarah and Emma walk toward the exit, hand in hand. Emma looks up at her mother with new understanding. Mom, why didn't you tell them you were a champion? Sarah's answer comes without hesitation, because being your mom is the only title I need. They climb into their old Honda Civic and drive away, leaving behind a gymnasium full of people reconsidering their assumptions about strength, success, and what really matters. Behind them, Marcus watches from the gym owner's office window, his career destroyed by his own arrogance. The lesson is clear and simple. Never judge a book by its cover. The quietest person in the room might be the strongest. And real strength? It shows up when someone needs protecting, not when someone needs impressing. Sarah didn't need to announce her power, she just needed to use it when it mattered most. In the end, that's what separates true champions from everyone else.
Bạn Nam đang theo dõi series này, mình là Daisy và mình tin rằng hiểu được câu chuyện của người phụ nữ sẽ giúp chúng ta trở thành một người đàn ông tốt hơn. A Simple Woman, subscribe để khám phá nội tâm phong phú này nhé.